I'm Michelle Mikes, the K-12 Mathematics Supervisor for the Cobb County School District. Our district is committed to helping students succeed, and you as parents are an integral part of this process. To help keep you informed about what your child is learning in our math classrooms, we are excited to provide you with these informational videos on concepts taught throughout the school year. Thank you for taking the time to discover ways to support your students' learning.
Welcome to the second grade Unit 3 parent video. My name is Jamie Carberry. Today we're going to discuss the components of the Understanding Measurement, Length, and Time unit. In this unit, students will learn how to measure the length of objects using both the customary and metric units of measurement, solve word problems about length with addition and subtraction, tell time to the nearest 5 minutes, as well as represent data using a line plot. First, we are going to discuss how students will learn to measure the length of objects as well as solve addition and subtraction word problems that involve measurement. In second grade, students take what they learned about measurement in first grade by using rulers and units of measurement to describe length. Students need to measure objects in both the metric, which is centimeters and meters, and the customary unit, which is feet and inches. It is important for them to use estimation before they measure an object, and they can check their estimation by actually measuring. In second grade, students are asked to measure lines as well as objects around the classroom in both inches and centimeters. So here I have a line drawn on a page, and we're going to measure the line in inches and centimeters. Before I do that, I'm going to take a look at this line, and I'm going to make my estimate. So I think that this line might be about 8 inches long. Now I'm going to check my estimation by actually measuring this line. I'm going to take my ruler. I'm going to make sure that the ruler is lined up with the line that I have drawn on the page. And students learn that every ruler is a little bit different. So this ruler has the 0 line. That is the actually beginning part of the ruler where it starts measuring. This 0 line is actually moved in a tiny bit from the very end of the ruler. So I'm going to make sure that that 0 line is at the beginning of the line that I'm measuring. So doing that, I can see that the line is actually 9 inches long. So my estimation or my estimate of 8 inches was a reasonable estimation. So I did a pretty good job thinking with that. Now I'm going to take the same line and I'm going to measure it in centimeters, and I'm going to compare the difference between centimeters and inches. So I'm going to take a different ruler and I'm going to put it and lay it on top of the ruler that I have here. I'm going to do this as carefully as I can to try to line up that 0 line that I have in this ruler with the 0 line on the inch ruler. And I'm going to measure the same line. So doing that, we can see that the line is matching with the 0 line, the beginning of the line that I drew, and looking down the end of the ruler, we could see that it stops at right about 23 centimeters long. Students in second grade discuss why it takes more centimeters than it does inches to measure objects. And they discuss that the inch unit is a larger unit of measurement than the centimeter unit. So it's going to take more centimeters to equal the same amount of inches. So with there being 9 inches, inches are a larger unit of measurement. It takes more space. We have more centimeters to reach that same spot. Students also need to measure to determine how much longer one object is than another and be able to describe the difference in length using the same unit of measurement. Here I have 2 pieces of paper. The top one is a pink square and the bottom one is a blue rectangle. I'm going to measure both of these objects using my inch ruler, and just like before, I'm going to make sure that my 0 line is lined up with the beginning of the pink square. And as you can see, we have the pink square measuring 3 inches, and so I wrote 3 inches over here on the side. Now when I measure the blue rectangle, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to line up the 0 mark at the beginning of the index card, and we can see here that the index card measures 5 inches long. We know that 5 inches is larger than 3 inches, so students can determine that the index card is 2 inches larger than the pink Post-it note. Here, students need to apply the concept of length to solve addition and subtraction word problems. Here's an example of a word problem that uses measurement in inches. In PE class, Kate jumped 14 inches. Mary jumped 23 inches. How much farther did Mary jump than Kate? Here I solved this 2 separate ways using different strategies. The first strategy over here, my equation is 14 plus something plus blank equals 23. Since I'm trying to find out the difference between Kate and Mary's jump, I used place value blocks over here, and I counted out 14, which is 1 10 and 4 ones. Then I added blocks until I got to 23. I added those blocks using green marker. I added 9 blocks, so Mary jumped 9 more inches than Kate. Over here, my equation is 23 minus 14. I'm subtracting here because I know that Mary jumped 23 inches, and if I subtract the 14 inches that Kate jumped, that will give me the difference. I'm using a number line. I started at 23. I moved back to 14 and counted how far I moved in the units. So I counted back by 1. Mary jumped 9 more inches than Kate. I made sure that in all of my equations that I included the unit of measurement inches so that my audience knows what my unit of measurement is.
Next, we're going to talk about how to represent data with a line plot, pictograph, and bar graph. In quarter 4, students are focusing mostly on line plots and representing data that they find when they're measuring objects on that line plot.
This standard emphasizes representing data using a line plot. Students will use the measurement skills that they've learned during this unit to collect data using a data table, such as one seen here. And then they're going to take all of the data that they have collected and they're going to create a line plot like they see here. Line plots are simply a number line that have numbers on them, and they need to have a label at the bottom so that we know what those numbers represent. So here this label is telling us that these numbers represent the length of pencils in inches. Line plots need to have a title, so the title of this line plot is number of pencils measured. And what students do is they look at their table of the data collected, and when they're bringing it over, they are looking to see the measurement in inches. And you can see here Becky's first pencil is 2 inches long. So we are going to find 2 inches on our line plot, and we're going to put an X on top of 2 inches. Then we're going to look at Becky's second pencil, and that is 4 inches long. So we're going to come to the 4 and put an X over 4. And students are going to do that until all of the data is now represented in this line plot. Teachers then can ask questions about the line plot to see how students can read that information. We can ask a question such as which length had the most of objects, and students can see here that it is clearly 5 inches because it has more X's on top of 5 than any other number. For this standard, students will build on the first grade skill of collecting and organizing data in a table. How to draw data in the form of a pictograph and a bar graph using a scale of only 1. Students should have experiences posing a question with 4 possible responses and then work with the data that they collect to find those answers. Second graders should draw both vertical and horizontal bar graphs. Each bar graph should include a title, scale, labels, and of course the data represented using bars. Pictographs are graphs that show data using symbols.
Pictographs should include a title, categories, label, and a key that shows how many each symbol represents. In second grade, students are only working with a scale of 1. The last area on the concept map that we're going to discuss is how to tell and write time to the nearest 5 minutes. Here, students need to be able to tell and write time using an analog clock and a digital clock. Students need to be able to know that time should be in 5-minute intervals, and they also need to be able to know the terms AM for morning and PM for afternoon. For this analog clock here, what I have done is going around the clock on the outside, I have written the minutes that each number inside the clock represents. So if the minute hand is pointing to the 2, a student will know that that is 10 minutes past the hour. And each of these are counting by 5 minutes. Digital clocks are much more readily available to students nowadays. So students here need to know that the hour is on the left of the digital clock and the minutes are on the right side of a digital clock. One area that students in second grade do still struggle with is for analog clocks, knowing which hand is the hour hand and which hand is the minute hand. So if you have some analog clocks at home, have your child practice and make sure that they know that the hour hand is the small hand and the minute hand is the larger hand. As students learn how to tell time, they also need to learn and use certain key vocabulary words to describe the time that they see. Looking at this first clock here, you can see that the first half of the clock is shaded in. Students need to know that when the minute hand is pointing to the 6, you can say that it could be 6:30, or they also can say half past. So this clock is representing half past an hour. Over here on this analog clock, we just have part of the clock filled in up to the 3. Now students know that counting by 5s, that 3 shows 15 minutes. They also learn that clocks can be partitioned into fourths or quarters. So then they'll also learn that when the minute hand is pointing to the 3, they can also say quarter past, or the clock down here where the minute hand might be pointing to the 9, whereas this last quarter is shaded in, they can also say quarter to the next hour. In conclusion, Unit 3 focuses primarily on measurement. Students spend a great deal of time measuring objects in inches, centimeters, and meters. Students then show their measurements using a line plot. During this unit, students are asked to solve addition and subtraction word problems using different strategies, specifically on a number line, as they solve to find the length of objects. This unit also teaches students how to tell time on an analog and digital clock to the nearest 5 minutes.
Thank you for your time. We know that when families and schools work together, student success increases. Please visit the Cobb County Math Department website for additional information and resources to support your student at home.